Oh, it's so great to have you here. All right, well, it is the top of the hour, so let's get started. I want to welcome you here. Today, we're going to talk about how to jump on July 1st marketing opportunities. I know that for a lot of people, July and summer means vacation, but I will tell you that in the medical market, this is prime prospecting time. I'm Dr. Vicki Rackner, your host. I leverage my experience as a practicing surgeon, clinical faculty at the University of Washington School of Medicine, and serial entrepreneur to help financial services professionals engage doctors. I have another brand called Thriving Doctors where I help doctors thrive. And through working with doctors, what I understood is that unless and until doctors had true financial freedom, their choices were limited. I was not going to be the one to offer them financial advice. So a decade ago, I had this idea, well, what if I groom a community of financial services professionals to engage doctors? Problem solved. So that is what I have been doing for a year. I'm a big proponent in evidence-based marketing. So I like to bring ideas to you that are proven to work. So today in this presentation, we're going to answer three questions. First, why is July special in the medical community? Second, why is July of 2021 special? And how can you leverage these opportunities? So basically, July 1st is a red letter day in the medical community. And the reason is simple. Medical schools start July 1st all across the country. And because medical schools start July 1st, that means that everyone advances a level in their training so that there's place for the new medical students to come in. So let's just talk about, what the average career cycle of your average doctor looks like. All right, well, the normal doctor has already had 4 years of undergraduate studies, so they're usually about 21 when they start medical school. I actually was in graduate school when I had my surgical emergency that made me decide, hey, I want to be a doctor and save other people's lives like my own had been saved. So I was really old. I was 25 when I applied to medical school, and I was like geriatric. Okay, so most people go directly from undergraduate studies directly to medical school for about 4 years. And then you've got your MD. You can put those little letters after your name after that, but you cannot treat patients until you do your residency training, your postgraduate training. And the number of years that you invest in residency depend on what kind of doctor that you want to be. So I was trained as a surgeon. That's one of the longer residencies, so I was there for 5 years. If you want to do primary care, that's generally a 3-year program. And if you want to do something like cardiothoracic surgery, or you want to be a cardiologist, you add some fellowship training along to that. So on average, a doctor is ready to launch into their career at about age 35. So let's take an example, Sam. Sam is a fellowship trained orthopedic surgeon. So he borrowed about $50,000 for his BA. He borrowed another $150,000 to go through medical school. And this is actually the average debt for medical students is about $220,000. But interestingly enough, there are now medical schools that are charging no tuition, and that's to encourage more doctors to go into primary care because they're not going to be burdened with a big debt. And once he graduated from medical school, he started earning income. And the average orthopedic residency person earns about $60,000. So he could have gone out and practiced orthopedic surgery after his residency was done. But he decided he wanted to go on and invest in fellowship training. And if you take a look at the salaries of fellowship in orthopedics, now the different specialties vary, you can see that these fellows start to approximate their mature career salary. Well, he decided to go to New York, and so he was now going to get paid $231,000 a year. So what was his starting salary once he completed his one-year fellowship? Well, he got about the median. He got about $500,000 starting salary. And so you've got all of these people just getting out of training who are going to take their first jobs, yay, or launch into their own practice like I did. And because most people sign annual contracts, that means that there's a lot of motion happening around July 1st because the contracts have ended. Now people are looking for a new contract. And I remember one wise advisor once told me, I'm always looking for money in motion. So July 1st is when there's money in motion. And just as a tip, if you or a loved one is looking at an elective procedure, especially if you put it off during COVID years, do yourself a favor. Try avoid hospitals around July 1st. You've got a whole bunch of new people coming in. You want to let them sort of settle in before you go into the hospital. So, I've given this talk for years about July 1st marketing, but I will tell you that this is a profoundly different year. And the reason, of course, is COVID. So a couple of months ago, I was out walking my dog and I came across something you just don't see every day. A huge windstorm had blown through and it pulled the dock right from its moorings. So there was this dock sitting out in the middle of the lake. And I thought, this is a perfect metaphor for the way that doctors have experienced the COVID pandemic. So the COVID pandemic kind of blew through and it fundamentally changed the lives of doctors, just like it changed all of our lives. But it affected them in ways that most of us are not affected. They were literally risking their lives to take care of their patients. Fortunately, the death rate was lower than predicted. But doctors really understood in a new way that the idea of disability, the idea of death, isn't just theoretical. It's not just something that happens to patients. It's something that can happen to them. And so please keep this in your mind as you talk with new doctors. Make sure that they're taking a look at their life insurance and their disability policies. Make sure that they're all up to date. Make sure that the beneficiaries are correct. So I know a doctor who divorced his first wife and remarried, and his first wife was still the beneficiary on the insurance plan. You can just imagine what would have happened if he would have died before this error would cut and the second wife got nothing. All right, the next way that doctors have been profoundly impacted is finances. So think about what we've done for the past year. We have been at home to make sure that the demand for healthcare services does not exceed the supply. So I was a breast cancer surgeon. And in many states in the United States, an operation for breast cancer was considered elective. Now, every time I took a patient to the operating room, that patient was placed on a ventilator, right? And the hospitals decided, you know what, we want to make sure that we're investing all of our healthcare resources into COVID patients. So elective cases were canceled. They were postponed. Well, these elective cases are the engines that drive profitability of hospitals and clinics. And last year, the Mayo Clinic, which is the single largest employer in the state of Minnesota, was projecting a $3 billion shortfall. To respond to this, many hospitals asked their employees to take pay cuts. There were across-the-board pay cuts at the Mayo Clinic and many other clinics. At Kaiser, many employees were furloughed or laid off. I have a relative who actually works at Kaiser. She said that it was a pretty terrible time. She works in the hospice and grief support, and so she and her team were just overwhelmed this year. Watching people being laid off was really hard. She did tell me that she just got a bonus from Kaiser. So, what's happening in your local hospitals and clinics is highly variable. I can't tell you what's going on, but it was not good. So every year, Medscape does an annual physician compensation report, and you can sign up for a free Medscape account and get access to these reports because they make great things to educate yourself and great ideas to share with your doctor prospects and clients. So this is a self-report. They just send a survey out to a bunch of doctors, and the doctors answer with, what was your income last year? In general, the trends are the same. The ologists, the people who do invasive work are generally at the top. Usually orthopedics is at the top. This year, plastic surgery is at the top. And the primary care is generally at the bottom. But this year, they asked a very interesting question. They said, when will your compensation get back to the pre-COVID level? About 40% of doctors said in the next year, and by the way, PCP are primary care physicians and the specialists, the ologists who are at the top of the pay scale, 40% said in the next 2 to 3 years. About 5% said in the next 4 to 5 years, 3% said more than 5 years, and about 10% said, I will never return to my pre-COVID income. So doctors are behind the financial 8 ball. And many doctors are really worried about how am I going to catch up? And there are strategic things that doctors can do in order to get caught up. I'm not going to go into that today, but you can bring some pretty powerful ideas to them. Okay, the third difference is that, you might have had a telehealth visit with your doctor this year. So telehealth has been around forever. So why is it that you couldn't get a televisit before now? Well, quite honestly, it's because the details about how physicians would get compensated for these visits was uncertain. Well, then the COVID pandemic struck, and the insurance companies got it together. And the big surprise for a lot of us was the level of intimacy you could build through a televisit. I'm sure that you found this yourself with all of your Zoom contacts. So doctors are now open to the idea that you don't have to be in the same room with somebody to build an intimate relationship. And what this means for you is that you might hold the belief that you need to get knee-to-knee with a doctor prospect in order to build a relationship, and that's no longer true. So your prospecting area is no longer, an hour drive of your office. It can literally be anywhere in the United States if you want to get licensed. And doctors are more open to this idea. The next change that we've seen is that doctors are social now. So doctors are very social creatures. We're kind of like bees. We're always getting together with other doctors, comparing notes. We're sharing ideas about, some great thing that's working. Like if, there's a great new operation or there's a great new medication that's really working well, the very first thing that doctors want to do is share it with each other. They also share ideas about where to go on vacation, what restaurant to go to, what vendor to use. And so if a doctor is delighted with the service that you are offering them, let's say that you're helping them catch up with that lost income, they are going to share this information with other doctors. Now, this past year, a lot of doctors have tried to avoid the hospital if they don't need to be there, right? So the conversations that they'd normally have in the doctor's dining room and the surgeon's lounge is now being had on social platforms. And believe it or not, probably the #1 platform that doctors are having conversations is on Facebook. And why is that the case? It's because on Facebook, doctors can form private groups. In order to be admitted to the group, you need to tell them where and when you graduated from medical school. They need to check your picture ID because they want to know that patients aren't infiltrating the group so that they can have the kind of frank, private conversations that you're used to having. Well, if doctors are there in their private Facebook groups, that means that this is kind of a fishing hole where you, in fact, can go and engage with doctor prospects and clients. So you might want to check with your doctors. You know, are they on social media? What platforms are they on? We've just seen an explosion in the number of doctors on LinkedIn these days. And yes, financial advisors are forming relationships with doctors on LinkedIn and other social platforms that are leading to the acquisition of doctor clients. So if you have not done social marketing before now, this is probably the year to think about it. You might have some limitations because of your compliance department, but you can always see if you can work with them and find a solution. Further, I think this is really time. You must build digital sales funnels. You must collect the names of doctors and then regularly distribute high-value content to them. I've actually done surveys with my own financial advisors. I've said, hey, let's go back and take a look at the 10 top doctor clients and we'll turn back the hands of time. How many contacts did you have with this doctor before they actually converted? And in general, it was about 7 to 10 contacts. So you don't want to stalk doctors, but if you just have a way of delivering high value content on a regular basis, when the doctor is ready to move forward, you will be top of mind. The fifth trend, unfortunately, is that we are seeing a continuation of the trend that we've seen for years, which is an epidemic of burnout among physicians and also, unfortunately, physician suicide. So this year, Medscape repeated the survey that they do on a regular basis about burnout and suicide. And what they found is that the incidence of burnout in 2020 was about the same incidence as in 2019. It's about 42% of doctors. So 42% of the respondents said that sometime within the past year, they had toxic stress. The joy was gone. They didn't want to be there with patients. Now, I don't know about you, but I want to get my care from somebody who's excited to be there, somebody who's really connected to the joy in medicine. When they asked, well, when did your burnout start? About 80% said that they entered into 2020 with burnout, and about 20% said that the stresses of COVID just kind of threw them over the edge. And then they asked a really interesting question. Which would most help you to reduce your burnout? So 45% said increasing compensation to avoid financial stress. So let's put these two Medscape surveys back to back. So we know that doctors are already behind the 8 ball. And in order to get out of this burnout loop, they need more money. So if you can help doctors, legally and ethically reduce their tax bill, if you can help them negotiate better contracts, if you can help them collect what they're owed or get more patients who pay well, you are going to help them break this cycle. And once you do that, now you're in a better position to help them accelerate wealth building. So, with all of these things, I can tell you that a lot of financial advisors had their best year ever in 2020. There are some doctors who had the best year ever in 2020. And these are the people who understood that if they could provide value, if they could think about problems in a different way and pivot, they were in a great position to achieve success. This is one text from one of my financial advisor clients. They said that they normally have about 80 conversations on their calendar a month. But we had launched a campaign, and now they did 60 in a week as a result of their efforts. They had to turn their ads off. They really had to think about how to scale. But this is the kind of thing that's possible. Okay, so the burning question is, how do you make this happen? Maybe you have no doctor clients and you're trying to figure out how to break in. If you're at a certain level of success and you want to jump to that next higher level, or you really want to establish yourself as the go-to guy or go-to gal among targeted groups of doctors, your questions might be the same. How do I get past the gatekeeper? How do I get a doctor's attention? How do I inspire doctors to take action? And I will tell you that the July 1st marketing campaign that I'm going to talk about might be for you. So this is a great way to acquire doctor clients without wasting your time, your money, or your efforts, even if you've had disappointing results in the past. So I'm going to lay out a number of ideas. Some of them might not be for you, but it might be just your cup of tea. So the goal here, your end game, is to achieve what I call escape velocity. So we're not just talking about how to get one new doctor client or 5 new doctor clients. We're talking about getting to the point that was described to me by one of my private coaching financial advisor clients. We had been talking about a marketing campaign to launch, and he said, look, we're just going to have to put the brakes on this. I am getting so many new clients just because doctors are passing around my name that I don't know how I'd possibly onboard any new ones beyond the ones that I have. Well, I wasn't going to let him get away with that, right? So instead of just him working with doctors, we brought in 2 junior colleagues, and now he is the rainmaker for not 1, but for 3 financial advisors. So he had achieved this escape velocity. He was now recognized as the go-to guy. So, if a new urologist came into a practice, that person would be given the name of my guy, right? The financial advisor. I can tell you that when I got out of residency and I went and established myself in private practice, that's the time that I took care of all of the housekeeping. I bought my disability insurance. I bought my life insurance. Like, I got things set up. And so while we're talking about how to leverage July 1st, I want you to keep in mind that the new doctors who are coming to town July 1st, they can be your doctor evangelists who can potentially open the red velvet rope so that you get more introductions organically, right? So The reason that July 1st marketing is so important is that there will be new doctors in town. There is money in motion. And this is the one time in a doctor's career when they are not swamped. So how did I spend my first couple of months when I was just launching into my private practice? Well, it was one of those eat what you kill things. I wasn't going to bring home money unless I actually did an operation. So my efforts were focused on meeting people, getting to know them a little better, getting them to trust me so that people would be willing to send patients my way. So once a doctor gets established, they're really, really busy. You're not going to get them on the phone. You're not going to be able to take them out for breakfast or lunch or even coffee. This is the one time when you can do this. So this summer is the perfect opportunity to be meeting physically with doctors. The other thing that's different in July of 2021 is we are ready to come out of hiding, right? I just took some friends out for a birthday breakfast, and it just felt like this major treat because it was the first time in over a year that I had done that kind of thing. So I think people are interested in physically meeting people. So I think of any year, 2021 is really a unique time to think about getting knee to knee with doctors. And we all know that while we can build relationships virtually, there is some magic that happens when we are in the same room as others. So I am going to talk about 3 ways that you can possibly get in front of these doctors who are coming in town. The first is networking. The second is launching what I call a welcome wagon. And third is meeting one-on-one. So I remember late June of 1984 when I moved to Boston to start medical school. And one of my neighbors knocked on the door and she gave something to me. She gave me a pot that had noodles and pasta sauce in it and, a dish towel and dish soap and things like that. And I was just so moved because here I was, new in town. I didn't have anything. And so her act of welcoming really touched my heart. Well, in a similar way, doctors are just coming to town. They may or may not know which way is up. And so you have the opportunity of being there right at the beginning, right when their careers are launching, and really making a big impact. So here are some things that you can do. First, you want to identify new doctors who are coming to town. You could potentially reach out to local businesses and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Vicki. I help doctors take control of their financial destiny. You might not know this, but there are a whole bunch of new doctors coming to town this year. Would you like to offer some kind of promotion to them? Maybe a coupon. I'm putting together this little welcome package, and it might be a nice way of jumpstarting your local business. So this does a number of things. First of all, as you reach out to the local business people, now they know you as the guy or gal who's helping doctors. And that's kind of a unique value proposition. So you're already standing out. And I don't know about you, but I like patronizing the little local places in my community whenever I can. And, so I was friends with the person who owned the Ace hardware store, the nail salon owner. And they've got real relationships with people too. You know, people come in and share their issues. And if you are somebody who helps doctors and they know it, the next doctor who comes into the store or sits in the nail salon place, you know, that's a connection that they can make. So your name gets out there. The second reason I think that this is especially important right now is that we want to get our local economy going, right? I mean, my heart breaks for the businesses who have gone out to business. I don't know about you, but on a regular basis, I get takeout food because I wanted to support my favorite restaurants in the community. So giving restaurants or, you know, somebody who offers, you know, local crafts, giving them the opportunity to give doctors a financial incentive to shop with them is going to help that person, and hopefully it's going to get your local economy up and running too. So how do you identify new doctors? Well, in the old days, there might be announcements in your local business journal or in your local paper, but who's reading the paper these days, right? So you might find that there are announcements on social media. You can build relationships with medical recruiters. So these are people who are hired by the hospital to fill spots locally. So these people who know who's coming and going, right? And so if you're going to get a welcome kit together, you know, these medical recruiters might be a great way of like getting your welcome gifts into the hands of doctors. You can also Google new doctors in your area. You can also ask your own doctor client, hey, are you bringing anyone into the practice? You know, is the hospital or clinic hiring anyone new? And by the way, one little tip is that you can create Google alerts. So let's say that you do a lot of work with, I'll just say the Mayo Clinic. So you can set a Google alert for new doctors, Mayo Clinic, and that will bring up the names of these new doctors. So right now, the people who are completing their training, they know that they're coming to town. They've probably already signed their contract, so they know they're coming to town. And wouldn't it be great if, you know, before they come to town, you could actually reach out with a little welcome? Okay, so what kinds of things might you put in a welcome basket if that's something that you're interested in doing? Well, think about the last time you were new in town. What is it that you wanted or needed? And then just include that. In addition, remember that doctors are really, really busy people, right? I mean, an 80, 120-hour week is not that unusual. So anything that can save them time that would make their life easier would really help. And then just think who sells those products and services. And so, you know, here are some ideas. If you know somebody who does house cleaning or home security or childcare or a dog walker or a nail salon or a hairstylist or a dry cleaner who delivers or high-end clothes sales. So in Seattle, where I was practicing, you know, Nordstrom's is right there, right? A lot of the professional shoppers would actually go to the hospital and talk with doctors about, you know, what do you like, what do you not like? They'd gather close and they'd bring them to doctors. What if you could actually meet that person? A lot of doctors are using professional chefs, you know, people who would prepare foods, you know, restaurants, handyman. I remember when I bought my house, my realtor gave me a name of her favorite contractors. That was just like amazing to have these vetted resources. Yes, you know, you can go online and, you know, find people who are reviewed well, but I don't know about you, but I would rather get my recommendations from somebody I already know and trust. So you could create a sheet of these kinds of resources. You know, these might be the people who might want to offer new doctors a coupon. And then remember, there are other things. So if doctors are new in town, they might develop a relationship with a bank. Of course, banks want to build relationships with doctors. So, you know, maybe they've got a special doctor promotion, maybe they've got a special doctor mortgage. Maybe, you know, they would like to get more doctors doing the direct pay. So a lot of these banks have sort of what they fondly call the medical hit squads. Like there are people in the banks who want to sell more loans to doctors. You know, they want to get more dentists to, you know, get a loan to invest in equipment or to do a practice upgrade. So they've already got lists and they would love to build their lists. There are these special doctor mortgages for doctors in the early stages of their career, people who sell medical malpractice and disability. And I'm seeing that some people are asking the question, like, where can you get these things? And in the handout section, you'll find a handout called Welcome Done For You Marketing Campaign. So these scripts, the things that I'm saying are there. So if you approach a new business, you can say, hey, would you be interested in acquiring more doctor clients? My name is blah, and I help doctors take control of their financial destiny. I'm creating a welcome package to new physicians who will be coming to town July 1st. Would you like to offer them a promotional product or service? I'd be happy to include it in a package that I am putting together for them. Or, you know, maybe there's going to be some local events happening. Or, you know, there's some nice parks that you really enjoy going to. You know, the kind of insider intelligence that has really improved your life. Well, you might want to make a list of that too. And, you know, I know that going to businesses isn't everyone's cup of tea. But the people who have done this say that this is really a high leverage thing. And as Andrew Carnegie said, no man becomes rich unless he enriches others. So, you know, getting out there and helping local business people, it helps everyone. So, you know, you can put together this gift basket and then get it into the hands of people. And then you can just write a little gracious handwritten note. And, ooh, I just thought of something that I'll get for you. But you can create your own custom card. I through this little drawing, you know, navigating to wealth. And some financial advisors actually print it like on the back of their business card or create note cards about that. But if you just have your own stationery, you know, you could just write a little handwritten note that you include in the basket saying something like, thank you for your commitment to serving our community, welcome, and then just distribute it. Or, you know, you might say in a note, I'd love to get together with you over coffee and understand what your focus is and what kinds of patients are your ideal patients. And so, you know, if you are sitting down and listening to like who a doctor is, what their goals are, I can tell you that what happens is once you do that, the doctor is going to then turn it around on you and say, well, what is it that you do? Well, thank you for asking, doctor. You know, I've got a real commitment to serving the doctors who serve the community. I want to help them achieve the freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it. So I help doctors optimize their financial health. When you actually do get in front of a doctor, here are some great opening questions. You know, whether you're taking a new doctor in town out to coffee, or you're at a networking event and you run into a doctor, or maybe when there's medical meetings again and you're at medical meetings. Here are my favorite questions. You know, what drew you to a career in medicine? And what are your proudest moments? And the reason that these are so important is that, remember, people don't remember what you say necessarily, but they will remember how you make them feel. And if you're hearing the story of how and why they went into medicine, you're hearing probably a pretty amazing story that's going to remind them of the dream, right? It's going to remind them of why I just committed, 9 years into my training. And then your proudest moment, that's going to give you some insight about what's really most important to them, what they value most. And I actually recommend writing these words down, because these are important words. And as you work with doctors, you can remind them of the dream, and you can tell them how you can help them work towards that dream. So to optimize success with these kinds of campaigns, here are my recommendations. The first is to adopt a spirit of service. You know that people want to work with people they know, like, and trust. And neuroscience explains why our brains are wired with a special kind of cell called a mirror neuron. So the statement, I like you, really means I am like you. I see part of myself reflected in you. And doctors are cut from the cloth of service. And so if you can do something that says to doctors, look, I care about you, I see you as a person, that's going to paradoxically lay the foundation for quicker relationship building. It feels slower, right? It feels like you're doing this thing that's not really, in your core value proposition. But my decade of experience tells me that this is going to help accelerate things. Next, I would ask lots of questions. I would really get to know doctors. And if they tell you something, go further. Oh, that's really interesting, doctor. Tell me, why is that important to you? Your goal at this first meeting, for breakfast or for coffee or for lunch, it's to get to know this person and then listen very, very carefully. My strong suggestion is that at this first meeting, you not do any selling. You just get to know the doctor. If the doctor wants to know a little more about you, of course, tell them what it is that you do. Hey, I help doctors move up retirement by 5 to 10 years. And if they say, oh, well, that's something I'd be kind of interested in. Could you tell me more about this? I would create some scarcity. I would say, you know what? I would be delighted to do that, but I've got another engagement coming up. How about if we take out our calendars and set something up so that we can just talk about that? Because that's a whole separate conversation, and I don't want to short shrift you. So, this scarcity is going to attract doctors to you, right? So I would just put aside selling, like make a promise to yourself that you're not going to give them your pitch. You're not going to just give them your spiel. Be generous. The people who probably understand how to push doctors' buy button the best is the pharmaceutical industry. And they actually conduct research, not just about medications, but about what works best to engage doctors. And I will tell you that they spend about half of their marketing budgets with the little trinkets that they give to doctors, the pens and the coffee mugs and the hats. And they do that for a reason. It's because it works. So be generous. Have things, branded things that you give away. And personally, my favorite gift is a book. So if a doctor mentions that he is a big sailor, loves sailing, maybe you want to go on Amazon and get a book about sailing. Maybe it's a book, coffee table book of beautiful sailboats, and send it to them. Some other favorite things that you might want to brand is you can certainly do your own coffee mugs or your own branded thumb drive. There's this little like stress-o-meter, and I'm going to send you a replay link with this, and I'll send a link to another tutorial that I gave around gifts. But here is like the #1 gift that works amazingly well. It's these 2 books that I wrote that you can actually read, The Myth of the Rich Doctor and The 9 Money Mistakes That Doctors Make. So I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of doctors, and certain trends emerge, right? And I was off on vacation, and I didn't plan well enough to do my Tuesday blog post, so I stayed behind to write my blog post while my family was out hiking, posted it, continued with the vacation, and I came home and this thing had gone viral. It got about 100 times more traffic than even my most popular blog posts. And I thought, there's something here. I expanded it into a book, and I was invited all over the United States giving the talk, The Myth of the Rich Doctor. And I thought, okay, let's think about this for a minute. What I want to do is I want to help financial advisors engage doctors. So I had this idea, well, what if I gave financial advisors the opportunity to write a foreword and an afterward? So the foreword would have their signature story, the story of why they're in financial services, the story of why they're working with doctors, and then the afterword would be a wrap-up with a call to action. And this is actually the single best marketing tool that I have ever developed. I went on and wrote a second book, The 9 Money Mistakes That Doctors Make. This is actually the book that aligns most with where doctors are at right now. Because of course, if you're, behind the financial 8 ball, the thing that you cannot afford to do is make mistakes. But I have some big news. I just sent off my next book to the editor, and this is going to be available July 1st. So let me tell you a little bit about it. So as I've been talking with doctors, with happy doctors, with unhappy doctors, I came upon this idea of like true wealth. There are some doctors that have the kinds of things that money just cannot buy. In order to have true wealth, of course, you need a solid financial foundation, because nobody who's worried about, whether they're going to outlive their money or how they're going to pay for their kids' college education, nobody has true wealth. And so there's a financial component, but it's more than that. It's about living your values, being in your sweet spot. And so this book that I've written is really a path to true wealth. And I'm actually testing some hooks now and seeing what it is that doctors want most. So I think for financial advisors, probably this how doctors build true wealth, and it's not just about the money, that probably aligns best with your brand. But I will tell you that for a July 1st campaign, this hook, Doctors Fill Your Calendar, how to attract people who pay you well to do the work you love so you can take control of your career, your money, and your life, even if you fear looking like the used car salesperson. This is the perfect tool for a July 1st campaign. So just know that these tools will be available You are welcome to license, an unrestricted digital version of this so that you can actually send it out. There will be the possibility of co-branding it, putting your name on the front cover, putting your picture on the back cover and your bio below mine, and, really creating a custom version. So anyway, I hope that gives you some ideas about what you might want to do July 1st. I actually do have an offer for you, but before I get there, I just want to know, do you have any questions about what you might want to do July 1st? So please feel welcome to post any question that you might have into the question section. I hope that your wheels are kind of turning and you're seeing some possibilities here. All right, and okay, David asks, how do I get a copy of the slide deck? The answer is that tomorrow you will be sent a link that will take you to a page with the slide deck and the video replay, and you will be able to see it there. All righty. Sign me up for the True Wealth Bill. Okay. Mr. Canoe, it would be my honor and pleasure. All right, so if you've been a part of my community at all, you know that I am basically committed to your success. I study success. And so I always ask myself this question, okay, what are successful people doing that struggling people are not? And as I look at my experience helping advisors in 2020, here are the 3 things that successful advisors are doing. They're mastering expert positioning. So you know that doctors don't want to work with vendors, right? They want to work with the experts. There are just a trusted number of people, maybe a handful, who know a doctor's financial truth. So they are looking for a peer who is willing to engage with them on a peer-to-peer basis. And an investment in writing a foreword and afterword to these books is just the perfect way to position yourself. I mean, you know what they say, what's an expert? Oh, that guy's an expert. That's the guy who wrote the book. I mean, that's an expression, but that can literally be true. Second thing that they are doing is that they are mastering digital sales funnels. And the third thing that they are doing is mastering physician evangelism. So the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. And so highly successful financial advisors are giving presentations with doctors. They're inviting doctors to be on their advisory board. They're sort of under the umbrella of a doctor's credibility, and that will accelerate success. And probably the single habit that they do is show doctors that you can help them by actually helping them. So we talked about the importance of a digital sales funnel. And so regularly send out tips that are really going to improve a doctor's condition. So when people license the intellectual property in these books, I write in little sound bites. And so basically these books are a year of drip content, because you can take any one idea and send that out as your weekly tip. So I will tell you that this is a time of huge opportunity, because remember, doctors are behind the 8 ball. And what I didn't tell you, by the way, is pre-COVID, we knew that half of doctors were behind in retirement planning. So there's a lot of financial stress. Doctors need your help. Right now, half of doctors are financial do-it-yourselfers. I think that they're seeing that this is not a do-it-yourself campaign, but I so honor what you do, because you can help doctors return to this dream. So if we go back to that dock, it was just really amazing to see how they actually reconnected it to the mooring on the shore. Well, first of all, it took them a long time to do it, to figure out how to do it. But they had boats and they had all sorts of things to push and pull. And I think there were about 10 people who spent about a half day doing it. Well, you know what? Helping doctors reinvent themselves as we recover from COVID is another really big task. And this is your opportunity. So what's your plan? Like, do you really want to double down and help doctors? This is a great time. And if you are there, please know that I'm here to support your success. So please go to Targeting Doctors. I'm building a new website called Engaging Doctors, so the branding is changing. But make sure that you're on my list so that you get my weekly marketing tips and you get announcements about webinars like these that I'm delivering on a regular basis. Please, take the content that you can find on my Targeting Doctor site. There's hours and hours of videos. Feel welcome to, avail yourself of them. Implement all of the ideas there. But what I do know is that there are some people who just want the unfair advantage. I am a big reader, and I will tell you that my favorite book this year was a book called Who Not How. So let's say that you want to achieve a goal. You want to accelerate your practice growth by working with more doctors. The logical question is asked, how do I do it? The book argues that the better, more strategic question is, who can help me do this? And I can tell you that for the past decade, I have been the who for financial advisors who want to engage more doctors. So I remember a financial advisor called me. I wonder if she is actually on the line. I'm going to see. I hope so. Martha, are you here? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so Martha called me. She and her husband were already really successful. I said, Martha, you're already successful. Why in the world are you interested in making an investment in my course? She said, I'll tell you why. I've always had this vision of taking the family to the Dolomites for Christmas. And I know that if I can just get one idea from this course, I'm going to be able to afford it. And guess what? She did. So I'd like to make you an offer that I call the Expert Positioning Package. And the idea here is to get to the epicenter of the success triad as quickly and as effectively as possible. So the backbone is one of these 3 books. And remember, this is the same book, just with a different title. One of these 3 books written by me that you would write a foreword and an afterword for. Now, if you Google me, you will see that I look pretty good on paper. So I've already got a national reputation for doctors. So the book is sort of the organizing principle, the ideas in the book, and you can do any one of the 3. So once you choose, we'll create a custom version of the book. I will help you write your signature story. I will help you craft the afterword to a call to action. In addition, we will create an on-demand webinar. You will get all of the content that you need to promote this webinar. You will get sort of instructions where you'll get clarity about who your best doctor client is, and we'll gather some intelligence about how to actually reach them. So if you are out fishing, we'll decide what kind of fish you want to catch, where the swimming holes are, and then the content of the book would be like the actual hook, the thing that you put on the hook, the bait and tackle. And so we'll kind of put together a plan. So with this package, you get this custom version of the book. You're actually going to get 2 digital versions of the book, and I'll tell you why. One of the things we do when we work together is we're going to identify some power partners, people who already have a list of doctors that you want to reach. So let's say, for example, that you want to work with plastic surgeons. Well, plastic surgeons belong to associations. So you could potentially go to the executive director of the association and say, look, I know that this has been a tough year. You know, do you think that your members would be interested in a digital copy of this book? If so, I would be more than happy to give you permission to send it out to all of your members. So, you know, with a single call, this book could potentially be in the hands of thousands of doctors who are good fits for you, but that doesn't really do you any good, right? So you want to collect a doctor's name and email address. So when you go to a power partner, you're going to get a version of the book that is through, you know, your foreword, the preface, the introduction, and the first chapter. And then there's a page that says, Doctor, if you like this, there's more. Go here where you can sign up to download the complete copy of the book. So then you send them to the landing page where you invite doctors to exchange their name and email address for the full version of the book. So this digital version really allows you to build your list strategically. In addition, you get 50 physical copies of the book. You get a bookmark template with your branding on it, and people hang on to bookmarks. You know, we'll co-produce a webinar and give you clarity about what doctors are going to do. But I think that the real value is that you've got me, somebody with a national reputation, who's going to be opening up that red velvet rope. Now, I will not work with everybody because I don't want more than one person in an area calling the executive director of the Plastic Surgical Society and saying, hey, I'm working with Dr. Vicki Rackner. So, you know, if you're at all interested in this, the very first thing you should do before you get your hopes up is just reach out to me, drop me an email, Dr. Vicki, DRVICKI, at engagingdoctors.com, and tell me where you live, what kind of doctors you want to work with, and I'll let you know if that's even available. So this is a great package if you're a veteran in the medical community and you just really want to take that jump. You want to jump into the medical market and avoid the learning curve. You know, maybe you've known for a while that, yeah, you should be building digital sales funnels, but I just haven't gotten around to it. Or you just want to take the most direct path to success. Oh, doing my taxes this year was so painful. It's always painful to look at the investments that you make and see the returns on those investments. I made some great investments this year, but I made some real duds. So if you want to find the things that are really going to work right now, this is it. And if you want to position yourself as the go-to expert, this is really the beauty of the program. Okay, this is not for you. If you're uncertain about whether the medical market is for you, you should figure it out because this is not for everybody. There's some great reasons to work with doctors, but the thing is that you put in a whole bunch of work at the beginning to be at this place where you achieve escape velocity, right? Like I was telling you about my client, like he's saying, oh my God, there's so many doctors calling me. I don't know how I'm going to keep up. So you definitely want something. This is not for you if you want a do nothing campaign. Doctors worked really hard to become doctors. This is hard work. I'll help you work smart. But this is not a do nothing campaign where, you know, somebody is just gonna send you leads. And by the way, if you're looking at somebody who's offering to do that for you, I would look upon that with great skepticism because your doctor prospect is going to be attracted to you, right? It's going to be attracted to something that you offer. And if somebody else is generating the leads for you, that means that they don't have this hook for you. This is also not for you if you're just a hobbyist, you just want like 1 or 2 new doctors. Okay, so you're asking, what's the investment? I always struggle with this too, because I really believe in value-based pricing. I hope that you look at the same thing as you're looking at your own practice. So I ask myself, and I invite you to consider, you know, what's the value of a single physician client? You know that doctors are very loyal, so you're probably going to have that client for life. Consider, you know, what you would need to invest to write your own book. I can tell you that every time I write a book, it feels like I'm having a baby. It always takes much longer. The birthing process is always so painful. So you can hire somebody to ghostwrite a book. You know, you can go and pretend to write a book. Somebody will put your name on it. I don't think that that has integrity. We know that doctors like the stuff that I'm writing. So, you know, you're welcome to write your own. I invite you to write your own, but it's probably going to be about a year project. If you invest in this, you can probably have digital books within 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how quickly compliance moves. And you can probably have physical books within 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what's going on with our paper supply from China. You might want to think about what is the value of physicians' insider information, the kind of thing that you're learning now, and what's the value of not stumbling at the starting gate or the finishing line. You know, what's the value of being perceived as a physician's partner? Because now you're under my umbrella of credibility. What's the value of getting the attention of the executive director when you say, hey, I'm working with Dr. Vicki Reckner and here's what we're doing? What is the value of marketing material that doctors are proven to want? And what is the value of moving quickly? And I could have charged a lot of money, but I am here to help you. So I decided to put a fee of a $10,000 investment. You can break it down into 3 payments. And here's the deal. All of my services come with a 30-day unconditional guarantee. So if we start to work together and you decide, you know what, she's not the real deal, she's just a salesperson, or I don't really like this stuff, or we're just not a good fit, just tell me so, and you will get your money back, no questions asked. So you're not assuming any risk. You're protected by this money back guarantee. And to sweeten the deal, I want to throw in some bonuses. One is access to my Get More Doctor Clients Home Study Masterclass. I have been working on this for a decade. This is really how to make a quantum leap in the number of doctors you're working with. So you can take the fastest and easiest and most direct and tested paths to success in the medical market. This is a soup to nut blueprint that removes the work and frustration and wasted resources. So we talk about how to lower the barrier to entry in the medical market. We talk about how to accelerate trust building, because the rate at which your practice grows is the rate at which you build trust. And then we talk about how to strategically begin with the end in mind. And the end in mind is escape velocity. It's to become this go-to guy or go-to gal. I've created this B to D blueprint. I think that working with doctors follows neither the B to B nor the B to C model. It's a little different. So I call it B to D, doing business with doctors. So you're going to learn the 6-step strategic framework and the tactics. This is all proven, and it's all founded in the laws of physician engagement. Doctors are wired differently than you are. And if you align your activities with the laws of physician engagement, you are most likely to be successful. Conversely, if you're trying to launch a campaign and it's just not clicking, chances are good that something is out of whack with the 10 laws. And if you could identify which one and kind of tweak things, you're probably going to get much better results. I've also got new bonus COVID content about building digital sales funnels, virtual relationship building, how to leverage LinkedIn, Facebook, and associations. As a second bonus, I will share with you my insider list of most profitable niches. This is normally information that I reserve for my private coaching clients who pay me anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 a year to sort of gain access to me. And then the third bonus is the digital sales funnel in a box. So for a doctor to convert, and I sort of told you about this data before, in general, doctors are going to need between 7 to 10 contacts for you. So you will gain access to the digital file of the 9 money mistakes that doctors made. Now, I recorded an audiobook of this. And so in this package, you are going to get these 9 audio files. You're going to get the email swipe files so you know exactly what to send to doctors. If you want to do a video, like maybe you want to do a quick Facebook live stream to announce it, you will also get a video script to introduce this. Now, doctors really like audio stuff. They like podcasts. They listen to podcasts when they're exercising, when they're commuting. And so these audio files could be things that doctors listen to as they commute. And just this alone, this is a $2,000 package. So if you're interested in learning more, please feel welcome to go to Get More Doctor Clients and learn more. Please feel welcome to reach out to me if there are any questions that you might have. And before I go, I just want to issue a hearty thank you. It's hard for me to imagine what your life has been like this year. And, you know, now that the COVID physical pandemic is sort of resolving, people are going to worry about financial healing. So I know that you have already been walking your clients down from the ledge this year. You've worked really hard, but we're going to need your help too. So thank you for the work that you do. And just know that if you're interested in working with doctors, think of me in your corner, sort of your secret helper in the background here. So let me know if there's anything that I can do to help. Bye-bye for now.